What has happened to Oscar Piastri? From leading the Drivers' World Championship since Jeddah to his championship rival of Lando Norris, 7 wins alone just this season, all leading up to his final win in Zandvoort, which put him 34 points ahead of Lando Norris in the championship, with one hand on the title. So now, just in this weekend past, in Brazil, crashing out in the sprint race, going down to 9 points behind Lando, to then finishing 5th, while his teammate finished 1st, getting his race win, now 24 points behind. So the big question on everyone's mind is, does Oscar Piastri have the pace to fight back in this championship? And where does he go next? So first of all, we need to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is where his pace has gone. Where has Oscar's first bit of pace from the first part of the season gone from the second part? Only one person is ever going to fully know this answer, and it's Oscar Piastri himself. But I think there is a key thing that people are underplaying out there that we really need to discuss. Everyone talks about how Oscar Piastri doesn't really perform well at these final tracks. So in 2024, he only picked up 10 points in COTA, 4 in Mexico, 11 in Brazil, 6 in Vegas, 23 in Qatar, and 1 in Abu Dhabi. So that would have been 55 points from the last 6 races. So understandably, yeah, he doesn't really perform as brilliantly at these last 6 races. When you also take Lando Norris's results from the last 6 races in 2024, which is his true, pace setter, I guess you could say, because they're both teammates. They should be putting in similar points in the same car. 18 in COTA, 18 in Mexico, 16 in Brazil, 9 in Vegas, 9 in Qatar, and 25 in Abu Dhabi. So that would be 95 points over the last 6 races last year. And that's a 40-point gap between the two. So we can all agree that Norris's pace is better historically and presently right now in these last 6 races. But honestly, everything I just mentioned, throw it out of the window. I don't think that counts for this season, and here's why. Let's take any 2024 races in a row, comparing it to 2025 races in a row. Will be slightly different because China moved about in the weekends. And you'll notice that in 2024, Oscar Piastri still struggled at tracks where he's now performed at this season. So like I mentioned, let's take China to Spain. Slightly different, obviously there's a little bit of a gap because of it, different calendars. However, China to Spain, all the same tracks from 2024 to 2025. Piastri got 55 points in these 6 races in 2024. To Norris, who got 113. So we can very much vouch that Lando Norris very much had pace in China, Monaco, Imola, Spain, Miami, etc. And now look towards this season and the difference. Piastri, in all of the races I just mentioned above, got 119 points. To Norris, who got 106. Bear in mind, these are tracks where Lando Norris absolutely dominated Oscar Piastri in 2024, and Oscar Piastri now in 2025 was able to outclass Lando Norris by 13 points. So not a small margin, and 119 points in those 6 races is incredible. So I really do struggle when people say, well, Oscar Piastri's never been good at these last races. It was always going to happen that he was going to drop off in this championship fight. He wasn't good at these races that he was brilliant at the first part of the season in 2024 as well. Something on a deeper level has to have happened to Oscar Piastri. And it's all that championship mentality. It is knowing that these races are so crucial and Lando Norris isn't making as many mistakes as he used to be, that is really dampening Oscar Piastri. So it's all fun and games saying, yes, he's never had pace at these tracks. But this season, like I've mentioned, he's shown that at tracks that he hasn't performed at before, he has been able to. So it can't only be this. And honestly, I think the first main breaking point that Oscar Piastri had this season was Baku. I think everyone can agree, after that DNF in Baku, he hasn't really looked the same. People talk about how you can't let it get to your head, and it very clearly did for Oscar Piastri. Since then, he's had multiple DNFs in multiple different races. We've seen in Brazil he had a DNF. We saw in COTA he had a DNF. Bear in mind, this is a driver who before Baku looked like he was never going to retire ever. He was on the second most longest run of consecutive race finishes in F1. He had 44 race finishes before this, and now he's had multiple just in the last 5 races. It's incredible. So he's lost that edge of consistency of being able to always finish an F1 race. And I then think the final big point, which is to why Oscar Piastri is losing out a little bit on the pace, is because you just have to understand that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, maybe not Max Verstappen, he's always putting on the pace, but Lando Norris has picked up his pace throughout the season. Whatever McLaren have or haven't, I think haven't is the key word there, been doing to that McLaren car, because they haven't been giving it upgrades, Lando seems to have understand what that car is giving. We saw it in 2024 as well, where Lando Norris actually outperformed Oscar Piastri when the car wasn't as fast as the rocket ship they have in 2025. And maybe that's why Lando Norris has come back a little bit more. The car isn't as dominant, so when you do make a mistake, you can qualify 5th or 4th, like we've seen with Oscar Piastri. But not only the car, but Lando Norris just seems a lot more composed than I think we've ever seen him in his full career. Lando Norris always had this issue of not looking like a championship driver because he made so many mistakes. In big key moments of his career, he'd crash out. Take Sochi in 2021. He'd crash out. That was a big moment, almost got his first race win. Even if we just go back to Baku, where Oscar Piastri had his big mistake, Lando Norris had a massive chance to gain loads of points, should have been on the podium that race, screwed up qualifying, the race had slow pit stop, his pace wasn't fantastic, and he only gained a few small points on his teammate Oscar Piastri. But since COTA, you have to admit, Lando Norris has picked it up. He could have easily made another mistake in the championship, finishing 3rd behind Leclerc in that COTA Grand Prix, but he was able to get past Leclerc. Leclerc didn't make it easy for Lando, and he just about managed to do it. Then in Mexico, he went and won the race by over 30 seconds. That is incredible. That is pure dominance. Then in Brazil, all of the limelight was on Max Verstappen, and very much deservedly on Max Verstappen, coming from the pit lane to P3. But Lando got 1st in practice, 1st in the sprint quali, 1st in the actual sprint race, 1st in the quali, and 1st in the race as well. 1st in all of the sessions is absolutely incredible. And this isn't something you see from Lando Norris. So something has clicked for him. I don't know what it is. Maybe he hasn't been on social media as much. Maybe he's just loosened up a little bit. Maybe he's just not thinking about the championship fight as much as he used to. Maybe he's not doubting himself. But whatever it is, it's giving him the pace edge over Oscar Piastri. And you've also got Max Verstappen, who's chasing both of them down at a very fast pace. Oscar Piastri does have a potential chance to finish 3rd in this championship now if he doesn't pick up the pace. And I think all of this is just getting to Oscar Piastri's head. We all think of him as this cool and collected driver. You have to remember it's only his 3rd season in F1. These championship fights, very hard to stay in it, mentally focused for an entire season. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now in the sudden dip of form from Oscar Piastri. And I think the key takeaway I want people to take from this video is just remember how valiantly he fought for this championship. It's not over just yet, but it's looking very much like Lando Norris has one hand on a championship a lot right now. I really do think Oscar Piastri is a brilliant, fantastic, talented driver who has it all to come for in his career, with countless wins coming up. A championship definitely will be coming his way, but the simple fact is, it still is very early days in his career. He was miles behind Lando in 2023. Then in 2024, he picked up the pace and he shortened that gap. And now in 2025, they are neck and neck. Potentially just losing out to Lando this season if it does continue going this way. But this is a very good trajectory for the rest of his career. If he's already able to get onto the pace of Lando Norris, who I think people underplay the type of driver Lando Norris is. Is he a Lewis Hamilton? Is he a Max Verstappen? No, but these are generational drivers. Lando Norris is still a good driver in F1, and to be on his pace already from Oscar Piastri is mighty impressive. But I have to say, it's just come at such an annoying time. Because of all of the regs change in 2026, if McLaren don't come out as the best car in 2026, there's nothing he could do. Because I honestly do believe if in 2026 McLaren have the fastest car, Oscar Piastri will be winning the championship. If he continues his rise in form from the start of his career into his 4th season, he'll have the pace advantage over Lando. But I don't think McLaren are going to be the fastest car in 2026. F1, you need 3 things. A good car, a good driver, and good timing. And he's going to be missing 1 or 2 of those next season, potentially. So I guess the whole point of this video is Oscar Piastri can hold his head high after the end of this season. He might look less and less likely to win the championship, but to be leading the championship for that long in a season, in his 3rd year, to be putting up a fight to his more experienced teammate Lando Norris, who very much was the favourite heading into 2025, is just truly incredible. And I say to everyone out there who is sad that Oscar Piastri won't get his championship this season, if he doesn't end up doing it this season, just wait. I can tell you good things are coming for Oscar Piastri, and they'll be coming fast. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all very soon.